Welcome, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit today about one of the big questions out there in our economy that keeps bubbling to the top is artificial intelligence after my job? Is AI coming after most people? And I read a really interesting article the other day that said if you want to know the likelihood of AI replacing you, you should determine how many hours a day you sit behind a computer screen. How much screen time do you use? If that number is high, for any purpose, by the way, anything that you're doing, if you're sitting behind a screen, the more time you spend there, the better chance there is that AI is going to take your job. Whatever function that is, you're probably the weakest link in what's going on there. The human being is probably the least productive, the slowest to understand all the connections, and the last one to make the big advance. And we're going to be the first people replaced as AI continues to roll. So it's kind of a good rule of thumb. If you need to be looking at a computer all day long to do your job, artificial intelligence is probably coming for you at some point, sooner or later. It's going to be there. My name's Perry Sykes, and welcome to the Investor Resources Podcast.
And I'm Don Creech. So AI is upsetting the world in more ways than one, but this process isn't really new. It's just more accelerated than the kinds of disruptions that we've had in the past. One of the concerns, particularly from the investing standpoint, is are we in an AI bubble? Is the stock market overpriced? And which is actually a discussion for another whole podcast.
Right.
Our position is not yet. It looks that way, but that's often misuse of financial data. Let's go back to looking at some other bubbles momentarily anyway. We go back to the 1800s when railroads were first introduced. There was massive excitement about what railroads could do, and there was a lot of investing in preparing the country for rail. Had to lay the rail, you had to build the trains, you had to build stations. There was a massive build out that was required before you could actually ship anything across the country. And many of those investors, if not most of them, lost money in that build out phase. Right. That was a speculation phase. But look what happened to railroads. Once we actually had the infrastructure built, it became a very essential part of a profitable economy. It generated better outcomes for the people who were willing to use the rail system. It replaced the canal system, which had been developed to move goods more efficiently than horse and buggy. We move a little further down the road.
It was largely boom and bust and boom and bust and boom and bust until we got to where it could be used because it just ate capital. It just ate capital. It didn't matter how much money you had, you were probably going to spend too much. And you were going to end up going out of business prior to getting to the payoff phase. And that's what they're kind of looking at in AI right now. Who's got the plumbing to make it to when AI is going to be used daily and it's going to become highly profitable? Until then, you could spend a lot of money and not make it. It doesn't mean AI is not going to make it. It means your company is not going to be part of it. So that's the real scrutiny in the whole, is this an AI bubble or not? It's trying to decide who are the winners going to be. Because whether or not AI is going to be productive, profitable, and unbelievably changing both the work culture and the social culture of the world, that is out of the tube. That's going to happen. It's who's going to be running the show on those, and that's what we're trying to decide.
And so this is much different than the tech bubble of the late 90s. Because at that time, we were laying fiber optic cable, and there was a great deal of excitement and money spent to put fiber optic cable across the country. The problem was there was nobody who had the tools to use it. The software wasn't available. The computer processing power wasn't available. Computers weren't cheap enough to be in everybody's home yet, and they certainly weren't on your smartphone. We didn't have the smartphone at that point in time. And that's much different today. So people who were investing in the future because fiber optic was going to make things more data delivery more efficient when nobody was trying to deliver the data. Those people lost money. They were the speculators, but they paid the price of making the next phase of development profitable. So
Correct.
when Microsoft and Google and later on Amazon, Netflix, Nvidia, gaming, all those things showed up downstream, there was a infrastructure to make them competitive, profitable deliverers of some sort of service that people were willing to pay for. And
Correct.
that's different this time around. What we're doing now is we're investing in building out the foundational support for artificial intelligence to work, but we're doing it with companies that don't have to borrow money, that they're actually selling the product that is going to be more efficient and less expensive as time goes by, as we make delivery more efficient and less expensive, which takes more time and more money. But unlike the fiber optic cable, we're already in a cash flow positive business structure.
Which you can't, like you said, Don, you can't reiterate that enough. I mean, that is such a big deal that there's already substantial revenues being generated because of AI. Part of that because of the rate of adoption. Artificial intelligence got to 1 billion users faster than anything has ever gotten to 1 billion users before. Faster than Facebook, faster than TikTok, which pretty much took over the world. TikTok's one of those. I'm too old, I guess. I still won't ever get up. I don't know what's all on TikTok, but TikTok took 5 years to get to a billion users on their platform, and AI's barely 3 years, and they hit 1 billion. The adoption rate is amazingly fast, and it's so widespread that some companies are even having a hard time when they're trying to understand, hey, who's using AI and how much. They miss how much it's already being used because there are no standard metrics that say, hey, here's how much AI we're using. All the employees are using it, and the company may not even know how much of what they're doing is being generated by AI or augmented by AI, helping in research and in writing code, for instance, is phenomenally fast and phenomenally widespread, and may not be fully understood by the companies that are employing exactly how much it's being used. So it's going to take a bit to understand that. But like we talked about before, AI is going nowhere. There's not a question about whether AI is going to make it. It's going to be a matter of who's using it and who's going to get to charge for it the most. That's the key here going forward. Not is it going to be used or not. It's going to be used.
Well, and you do use it. When you make the comment about that, it just reminded me. I called my bank yesterday, and I don't know how many times I had to interact with their AI attendant before I actually got to talk to a person. But that's going to happen more. I mean, if you remember back a few decades, you walk into a bank and you always interacted with a cashier. And now outside the door, they have their cash machine. If you can interact with the cash machine, it's more efficient, it's faster, and it's less expensive for the bank. And by default, it should be less expensive for you because you are reducing the number of people and the number of actual bank operations, the physical plant operations that they need to have to take care of you. My neighbor doesn't go to a bank because he does everything on the phone, including his bank deposits. I don't know.
Sure.
And he doesn't. Well, he's like you, Perry. He doesn't use cash. I mean, it's right. Your phone or credit card, but there is no cash in the system anymore. I still like cash myself. I'm stuck in my old route, I guess. I mean, I like having some cash to use for tipping when it seems appropriate.
It still works most places. Yeah, you can still get away with that. Yeah, that's all right. So. But the opposite is true. You were talking about banking industry. There's an AI agent now out there that is available to the banking industry that replaces the ubiquitous, quote, junior banker, that new kid you bring in out of business school and you plug them in to mostly just do number grunt work. That's what they did. And if you're sitting around taking all the numbers from this column and putting them into that column, they don't actually need you anymore. That's all automated now. And so that junior banking position is largely gone for any bank that wants it to be. And they can just plug in an AI agent and do that work, do that grunt work, have that taken care of by the software that they employ. And that not only allows that other person to do something more forward looking, more hands on, maybe even more creatively, but it also removes the need to pay someone to do that job. So it's disinflationary. It's going to drive expenses down, and the cost of running that bank is going to decrease. How soon that shows up in decreased costs on our end, that's yet to be seen, but it's happening on the front end now.
Well, in the process that we're going through from an investment arena is basically survival of the fittest. This is nothing different than what happened in the Roman Colosseum. The victory goes to the strongest, the one with the most innovative technique and the most endurance. And that's what's happening right now as far as the AI world is concerned. And some of these companies are developing innovative ideas that are going to compete with the big firms. But what typically happens with the big firms is once they see somebody nipping at their heels and it's becoming uncomfortable, is they start making really big offers to buy out the company. And if it's really innovative, they may incorporate it. Otherwise, they just simply operate it until the original owner goes away, and then they shut it down.
Yeah.
So that's the other alternative to it. But if it's a good enough idea, it is going to take over and be implemented somewhere along the line. We are interacting with it in ways that we're taking for granted. When you turn around and take a look at your news feeds today, we get them digitally rather than delivered as a newspaper or a magazine. This has been a process that's been ongoing for several decades now as the newspaper, the paper media business continues to unwind, trying to figure out how to survive in news delivery without something that you actually hold in your hand. Medical developments, whether it's surgery or the development of new pharmaceuticals in the biotech arena, AI is helping develop these processes at a faster pace with less error problem than we've had in the past. Humans make mistakes. Now, that's the other assumption that's very common, is that your artificial intelligence is not perfect. It is going to make mistakes. And that's where you end up on the investment arena, investing in a company with a great idea, and somewhere downstream they have a major flaw and the whole thing collapses.
Right.
And the bad news on a stock generates into the assumption, well, that whole arena can't be good. If something that simple happened to be a big mistake. But that's not the case. It's just that's how we learn. We make mistakes. Pain, it's just like exercising, which we don't do enough of. Pain is how you grow, right? Without pain, you don't gain muscle. And pain is going to happen continuously as we refine the efficiencies of artificial intelligence and our willingness, even if it's inadvertent, to adapt to what AI brings to us in the way of efficiency in our lifestyle.
And you're going to have to adapt. We were talking earlier, Don. I just saw U.S. University requires all of their graduates to have completed an applied artificial intelligence course because they know they're going to need to use it. It's not going to be optional to engage with AI or not. You are going to have to use it. There's not going to be an opt-out. It's going to be in almost every phase of all public discourse. You're going to have to be fluent in how to interact with AI, and it's going to become more and more important. And so learning now is better than trying to pick it up later.
Well, especially if you have children or grandchildren with education ahead of them. This is something important for them to understand. They have to address this area in their life if they're going to be efficient in their own careers. If this is information which you think somebody in your family, co-workers, friends would have an interest in, share the link with them, subscribe. We have more to say on this and other subjects. If you want more information from us, our website, iriradio.com, will get you to us. You want to talk about your portfolio and what we do from a management standpoint. It's a free phone call. We'll chat with you live. We'll give you analysis of your portfolio from our perspective of where your strengths are, where the weaknesses are that probably are not being addressed. And our basic philosophy is you should own things that are working, and the things that aren't working need to be weeded out. It's no different than the way you would grow a garden. If you wanted to have a productive outcome by the time the fall gets around, you have to get rid of the weeds.
That sounds a lot like an AI prompt. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, thanks for being with us. Subscribe. We'll be back in another podcast before long, and have a great day.